On the Wake Up Radio presents The Center with your host, DC Radical One.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is interesting. Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. Can you all hear me? Oh, well, this is interesting. Let's see. So you can hear me. If you can hear me, okay, y'all can hear me. Interesting. All right, give me a second here while I work on something. That's always something. Aha. Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out at SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and now iHeartRadio at On the Wake Up Radio. Also, you can check us out at onthewakeupradio.com and otwtube.com. That's otwtube.com. And our wonderful producer will put all those links in the description. In the chat. Also, don't forget, if you have not, to like, share, and subscribe as you come in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as you come in the building. And let's see who we have in the building today. We have, of course, our wonderful producers here. Baby Fody and Straight Black Pride to Sister Vanessa. Greetings to Unique One Express. BB Fody, Straight Black Pride to You Got Ripped Off. Straight Black Pride to Sister Simba. And that looks like everybody that I see thus far. Yep, that is everyone that I see thus far. So that is probably because it took me a long time to figure out what I was going to talk about this week. And I did not do the usual amount of advertising during the week that I do. Because there are a lot of things going on. I really wasn't sure what I was going to talk about. And what happened is I decided to go ahead and discuss self-hatred based upon the picture that I saw earlier this week of somebody that I figured out was Serena Williams. And I say figured out because when I first saw the picture, I didn't know who it was, and I just turned off my phone and went about my day. When I came back, the picture was still up, and different people were sharing it. And then I started looking at captions and stuff, and then I realized that the picture was Serena Williams. But before we get to that, we have an announcement. As you all know by now, we are less than 1 week away from the return of Brother Irritated Genie. This Saturday, May 15th, 6 p.m. doors open, 6:30 the live stream will begin. Gateway to the Apocalypse. This will be at E-Life Plant-Based Soul Food Restaurant, 9185 Central Avenue, Capitol Heights, Maryland, 20743. That's $25 in advance via Eventbrite, $35 at the door. So again, that is Gateway to the Apocalypse. Saturday, May 15th, in person and live streamed. Starts at 6:30, doors open at 6 o'clock. And for more information, email liberation@waronthehorizon.com. And this will be a most pertinent discussion for the future of black people, and indeed most people on planet Earth. You don't want to miss it. I'm sure everyone is familiar with Brother Genie and his work. He works diligently and tirelessly to come up with solutions to the problems that plague black people. And he is really the foremost brother I know who has the ability to look at the game plan of our enemies and diagnose the plays before they happen and then warn us. Of course, we don't always listen, and that's why we're not winning. Greetings to Brother John. So, again, that is May 15th, this Saturday at 6 p.m. You don't want to miss Brother Genie's presentation and discussion, because there will be a discussion afterwards. So, as I was saying, and I guess I will put the picture up so everyone knows the picture I'm talking about. This picture here of Miss Serena Williams, and it's funny, I haven't even read this article because I didn't need to. This is the picture that, let's see if I make it a little bigger. This is the picture that I saw in the middle of the week. I can't remember which day it was. I think Thursday. That caused a lot of stir on the internet. Greetings to Brother Crow. And again, I had no idea who it was. I'm not gonna lie. So one of those things, and you got ripped off, says this lines right up with Brother Genie's Black Self-Hatred lecture. Indeed. Yeah, and you can go to waronthehorizon.com and you can get that lecture. It's an excellent lecture. And I was sitting, it's funny that I was really confused. And I'm looking at my phone, and a brother had posted, he put the picture up, and he was like, man, I used to think she was fine, not no more, something to that effect. And I know the brother, and he's a real strong warrior. And again, I did not recognize it was Serena Williams. So I'm looking, and I'm like, man, I've never even seen this brother like a light-skinned sister's picture. And I'm not even sure. When I'm looking at the picture, I'm like, is this a white woman that's tan? Is this a mixed? I'm just totally confused, right? It's one of them days you're tired, you're not really sure what's going on, and you look at something. So I was like, whatever. Then I looked at it later, like I said, I figured out it was Serena. And I'm like, wow. This is, for whatever reason, at first I'm thinking, this is amazing. Then I started thinking about it, I'm like, this is not amazing. I'm tripping. Because those of you who have seen my lecture, I had clips where I talked about this. Showed the clip of Little Kim. And of course, Serena is married to a European. But in my mind, right, the fact that Serena married a European, I felt like would have satisfied her self-hatred, that she wouldn't have to butcher herself. Now, I know that doesn't really make sense, right? But in my mind, this is what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay. Sisters that do this generally aren't with European males. They aspire to whiteness. That's why they do it. Someone who has entered the white world by allowing a European in her womb, I figure, has satisfied the aspiration to whiteness. And then this picture comes out. And so now I'm like, oh, wow. There's no self-hatred. Is like in a bottom. It's like a black hole. The black hole just sucks you in further and further and further. There's no stopping it. There's no satiating it. Right. And so, and Brother Crow says Sammy Sosa, the same thing. If I'm not mistaken, Sammy Sosa married a white Hispanic. woman. And then he turned himself to, he looks, I mean, Sammy Sosa looks crazy, to be honest. Sammy Sosa's picture is probably worse than this Serena Williams picture, right? So this is not a man or woman thing. This is a self-hatred thing. And it's funny because I didn't look at Sammy Sosa, because if I had paid attention, then I would have realized that being with a European does not satiate the self-hatred. You just keep going further and further into it, right? And so I just want to talk about Serena a little bit. And because there's a narrative that's been going on, especially amongst feminists, that black men rejected Serena. And this is one of the biggest lies. I mean, there's so many big lies on the internet. You know, I'd be here all day trying to dispel internet lies. But this is one of the biggest lies in the world, because it was black men who helped make Serena an icon, right? Now, me personally, we'll talk about my former Serena love. Personalize this a little bit. Your anecdotal evidence, right? And then expand it. When Serena was starting to make her rise in the ranks, she was probably in her early 20s. So really was she kind of growing into womanhood, right? I had already been following Venus. I was following them since they came out. But at that time, you just following them, some young sisters, they doing their thing. They're in a world that they're black. You don't normally see black people excel in, and you support them because of that, you know? It's one of those things. And then as Serena grew up in the womanhood, it's like, hey, man, Venus is, at this point, she's still Venus's sister. Like, man, Venus's sister is she's kind of fine. And then, you know how brothers know how it is. You go to the barber shop or whatever, or, you know, you shoot ball in the locker room, whatever the case. And then invariably the woman discussion comes up. And people start talking about who different women that's fine, you know, different celebrity women, or even women in the neighborhood, if y'all know same women or women y'all work with, whatever the case may be. And as time went on, up in, like, Serena's popularity would grow and grow. And then the black cat suit happened. And every brother that's over 30 knows what I'm talking about, the black cat suit. I should have found a picture, brought it up. And at that moment, Serena became an icon amongst black men. At that point, to say that you didn't find Serena Williams attractive after the black cat suit would have people questioning your sexuality as a man. Like, there was no discussion about, amongst black men, there was no discussion about Serena too muscular, or Serena, all this stuff they were saying. You were here. And what's deep is, I don't know how this got put on black men, because if you went on, like, at that time, message boards and websites that were talking about sports. And the reason I remember this is because my mother was the one that pointed out to, because she was looking at this stuff, like when ESPN had ESPNW or ESPN for women, whatever it was, right? Is it bad that you don't know about the cat? You don't remember? Bruh. Google, you got ripped off. Google Serena cat suit. I think it was the US Open. All black outfit. Anyway, before I get to reminiscing here. Now you made me lose my complete train of thought, because I just envisioned it in my mind, and just that's what happened. And brother saw it, lost their mind, didn't know how to act. But this idea, right, that it was black men that was hating on Serena is false, because, like I was saying, you go on these message boards and you go on these websites and they have the comment sections. The derogatory comments about Serena and about her quote unquote lack of femininity and her over musculature and all this stuff was not coming from black people, and definitely not from black men. This stuff was coming from Europeans who were they were jealous, right? Brother say, remember the jean outfit? Yes, sir. Indeed. Don't distract me. But it was coming from Europeans and coming from European females, especially, but European males as well, right? And what's deep is, right, to prove this point, and you can look all this stuff up. I don't want to go through Serena's whole history because I'm just using her as an example because of that picture. One of her competitors, one of these blonde, flat back ironing board chicks, had basically had made mockery of Serena by pretending to be Serena, and she came out and she had stuffed her bra, and she had stuffed something in her, because I think she was wearing a skirt, so she put something in her pants or her underwear or whatever to make it look like she had a backside, and she was imitating Serena, right? So there was obvious hatred from her competitors, who 90% of them were European at the time, because there was a group of European blonde Eastern European chicks that she was just destroying. She was just dominating and smacking them all around, right? Greetings to Brother Eastwood B1. And so we couldn't see like what was going on in the locker room and things like that, right? But we could feel it when she was beating people, because she wasn't just like beating people bad. She was dominating these broads, right? Like, I mean, just complete destruction, and was showing herself to be superior. And you knew the jealousy was there if you just think about it, but you didn't realize what it was until you start seeing these incidents. So from the black male perspective, we're supporting her even more because we're looking at her destroy these females. Yeah, brother said Maria Sharapova. Like Sharapova, I remember like when Sharapova beat her the first time, and I had never heard of Sharapova. And this is how much my family knew how much I like Serena. That my late grandmother would call me whenever Serena was coming on, no matter where I was. Your girl about to play. You know what I'm saying? She was saying, your girl about to play. Serena about to be on. Serena come on today. I mean, all right. Thanks, Grandma. Yeah. And I go watch it, or, you know what I'm saying? If I be out, be like, man, let me hurry up so I can go home and watch it. Or, oh man, can you, tell her, can you TiVo it so I'll come over there and watch it later, or whatever. Don't tell me what happened. That type of thing. Which of course now, when you're on social media, it's almost impossible not to know what happened. But this is before social media blew up, right? So that's how my fandom for her was. And I knew other brothers like that, who didn't watch any tennis at all. Did not even, before Serena, that had no idea about tennis, didn't know what no Wimbledon was, none of that stuff. And really just was like, oh, Serena gonna be on. And would that ask you, man, when Serena play? Oh, she plays such and such. And then they were like, oh, word, all right, I'm gonna check that out. When Serena come on, they watch it. When Serena goes off, they don't watch it, right? That was the general atmosphere. And then there was the hatred from the females that she was dominating that were European. And then at this time, she was dating a bunch of different brothers. She was linked to, I remember a long time ago, she was linked to LeVar Arrington. At the time was a football player for the Washington team. Then she was linked to, she was linked to a lot of people. I don't know what was what. Then I remember her being linked to Common, and they were together and they were showing them together. It looked like something might happen out of that. And then next thing you know, both of them are with Europeans. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, or at least the next thing I know. And I was like, what happened? Like, how did you go in my mind as a man, I'm like, how did you go from Serena to, I can't remember what European female he ended up being with, but it was somebody that was like homely, just literally the antithesis of Serena Williams. And the brother Eastwood said she was linked to Jamie Foxx. I don't even remember that one. But and then next thing you know, because I had heard about Venus and some Euros, but next thing you know, Serena's with this Euro, and then she married and pregnant and all this stuff, and I'm like in my mind, I'm like, wow, what happened? Because again, we know she had a strong black father. But then I thought about, I was like, okay, there's a lot of trauma. One, she's in white world, right? But I'm thinking, well, you have your sister there. Y'all can bond together and kind of repel this psychological pressure to conform to whiteness, right? That's what I'm thinking. Whatever. But then, of course, the father and the mother break up, right? Who knows what the father is saying? Who knows what the mother is saying? Who knows what the father did or didn't do, right? And like I said, they just, after that, it's just like she decides to dive headlong into whiteness. And then the narrative became, it's black men's fault for her doing that, because I don't know. To be honest, I don't actually know what the logic was or what the reasoning was, what the feminists were saying. I guess they were saying because of whatever happened with her and Common, and who knows, right? But somehow this got pent on us. And the whole narrative of her being made an icon by black men just was swept away, right? But as the title of the discussion says, who taught you to hate yourself? Now, I'm not saying who taught Serena Williams or Sammy. So I'm saying who taught all of us, right? Because we all suffered from this affliction to a degree. Who taught us to hate ourselves? And I'm going to load up this clip to the first person that I remember asking this basic question. And by the way, straight Black Pride to Brother Elijah.
Who taught you, please, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate, you should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Right. Now we all know that is the Honorable Malcolm X. And that was from 1960, and that's actually from a discussion that he had, greetings to Brother Lance, with around the police shooting of the Muslim Brothers in Mosque 27 in Los Angeles. And I believe that was either in 1960 or 1961, right? But he was the first one I remember asking this question. Who taught us to hate ourselves? And again, this was 60 years ago, right? And here we are with people who are quote unquote successful. Greetings to 777-9311. Who are quote unquote successful, who, with all their success, with all their money, with all their celebrity, with all their clout, with all the adorations from their people, with all the love of their people and the worship from their people, it's not enough to counter the effects of self-hatred and white supremacist indoctrination, to stop them from wanting to physically emulate our enemies. And to show how deep it is, right? It's not just a celebrity thing. So it's not just Serena and Sammy Sosa. It's not just an American thing. This is something that's on the continent as well. So this is those deep. Black people who aren't even near Europeans are suffering this same mental illness. And we're going to look at that and then get deeper into it.
The business of skin bleaching is booming. A growing number of people in Africa are using creams, pills and injections to lighten their skin, but many are illegal and unregulated. Some believe a fairer complexion is the secret to success.
This particular cream is okay because if you use other creams, you might get sunburnt. Since I started using this cream, people have been complimenting me. My skin isn't too dark or too light. I keep my natural complexion.
The products reduce the body's production of melanin, which gives skin its colour. Globally, the industry is worth about $20 billion and is expected to grow to $31 billion by 2024. Ghana has one of the fastest growing markets in Africa.
From the poorest to the middle class and to the rich class, they all, a good number of them bleach. In my last research, I found out that when you go to the marketplaces, 6 out of 10.
Those who can afford it opt for more expensive registered products, but many have to settle for bootleg versions that have not been tested. These products contain high concentrates of hydroquinone and mercury. Long-term use can cause skin cancer and have other serious side effects, according to medical reports.
We now see this massive trend of increased use, particularly in our teenagers and our early 20-somethings. You start to affect not only the upper layers of the skin, but you also affect the deeper layers of the skin to such an extent that at a particular point, the whole process becomes reversed. You get much darker areas of the skin, and eventually the skin is destroyed to such an extent that only laser surgery or resurfacing surgery becomes the answer.
Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa and Kenya have now banned these types of bleaching products, but it's led to a booming black market. Professor Davids warns that skin lightening can even become addictive and that it will take time for black cultural movements to change ideas about what it means to be beautiful. Liz Maddock, TRT World.
Now, that brother that was in Ghana said that he estimates 60% of people, and I didn't know if he was saying in Ghana or in the area of Ghana where he is. Either way, 60% of people, right, in this area of Ghana, we'll say, he estimates are bleaching their skin. In a country where there are no white people around. There are no, so we can't say, oh, because they're next to white people, the self-hate comes from that, or, and I can't say, because I don't know what type of programming they get via television, so I don't know what's going on there as far as that. So there may be something that they're watching, right? But I know a lot of the celebrities is on the continent. Really, I'm starting to see more and more celebrities bleach their skin and, literally make themselves unrecognizable. And so this is a global phenomenon amongst black people, where and this was deep. I thought that the regression and black self-love and black self-respect that I was seeing amongst our people here was strictly because of integration. And yet, in places where there's no people, no non-black people to integrate with, the same pattern of behavior is occurring amongst black people who don't even have, who shouldn't be affected in the same way, because the whole society is different from the society that we're in. So then I found myself trying to figure out what's going on. Now, of course, we know on the continent, especially, there's a great amount of, our worship of people who don't look like us is ginormous. Like, I've seen pictures of people on the continent carrying big old statues of European Jesus and Mary and all that stuff, right? I've seen that. So, of course, that white idolatry, as Baba Kwesi would say, that's rampant. And it's funny because you see those billboards in that clip of Ghana, and really those billboards could be anywhere in the black community. The wigs, processed hair, all that stuff. And one of the things I'm recognizing is part of the problem, not the whole problem, but part of the problem is, and we don't like to admit this, but I'm gonna show you that this is true in the next clip in a few minutes. Part of the problem is that whether we want to accept it or not, whether other black people around the world want to accept it or not, the influence that black people on the continent have culturally, as far as what's trendy and cool and all that stuff, affects black people around the world, right? And if you don't believe me, listen to some music that's coming from the continent. Listen to what their music used to sound like. Listen to what their music sound like now. And even back in the day, some of their major artists, like Fela, admits that he was influenced by a sister from here. And she was into the movement and into the whole pro-black stuff and things that were going on. And he says that really influenced him and made him kind of help shape how he spoke and what he made his music about, right? Now that's 50, 60 years ago. But if you listen to the stuff now, it's the same thing. The music that they produce on the continent sounds eerily similar to what we're producing here now, right? So, like I said, whether they want to accept it or not, and whether we want to accept it or not, right? Because then it becomes a responsibility for us. We are affecting them culturally more than they are affecting us culturally, because we don't get to see, unless you look for the stuff like Nollywood stuff and things like that. That's not beamed here the way whatever's on TV here is beamed globally around the world. So what black people in America do affects black people psychologically around the world, especially the black people who are propped up by the Europeans, right? And brother, you got ripped off says white racial aggression created this version of Serena. Now that same system blames black men for her issues. This in turn tells black women that black men don't want you, but Urugu males do. Their trickery is damning. Man, that's so profound, brother. That is so profound. And Brother Lance says, this is so sad. I would never imagine that skin bleaching is something that would ever take root in Caribbean or Africa. Yeah, but it is there. And Brother Eastwood says it's heavy. They even have clinics on the corner, on the continent. Right. And Brother Crow says sisters wearing makeup is European concept. Indeed. In fact, to your point, brother, with the whole makeup thing, this is what's so deep, because I remember this stuff. And a lot of times I assume that certain stuff is local to DC, because DC was a weird place in the 80s, because you're talking about the center of power, right, in the world, surrounded at that time by 85% black people, which made it an anomaly in and of itself. But at the time, when I was growing up, sisters did not wear makeup, right? Almost never. Like, you only saw sisters wear makeup basically like some type of special occasion, job interview, wedding, maybe funeral, probably not, because you're gonna be crying, so a lot of sisters ain't wearing funeral. Like, that's how rare it was, right? And when I was growing up, brothers said that like, we were proud that sisters didn't wear makeup, because our saying was, sisters don't wear makeup because black women have nothing to make up for. So we would literally laugh and make fun of white at that time, we called them white girls. You know, we would laugh and make fun of white girls for having to wear makeup, right? This is how different culturally things were then when I was growing up. So there was a sense of pride amongst black men that black women didn't wear makeup, because we felt like they didn't have to wear makeup. So we were unconsciously supporting a sense of natural beauty amongst black women. Now, of course, sisters had, they were frying their hair at the time. This was the post Jerry curl era, or phasing out of the Jerry curl era, and then into a nascent consciousness era, right? And so, like, for my generation at the time when we were young, we were coming up, even though there wasn't a natural hair movement like there is now, but there was a sense of naturalness to sisters. Yeah, they were frying their hair, but like all this other stuff, it wasn't going on. And no young brothers at the time, we didn't like to see a sister with makeup was like weird, just to be completely honest. It was just like, what's wrong with her? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you just took sisters as they were. You just like, oh, she brown skin, cool. She light skin, cool. She dark skin, cool. And of course, because the general, especially in DC, generally speaking, and it's funny, I was just talking about this earlier with a brother. Yeah, there was a light-skinned women were put on a pedestal, right, in DC. This is just a fact. Can't speak for every city, because there were no, I'm not gonna say there weren't a lot of European females around. And weirdly enough, like if you live in PG County, you got bused. The European females, you saw them, but it was just accepted that sisters were better looking. That's just what it was. Like, any fascination with non-black women was just that they were something different. It wasn't like everyone recognized that sisters were superior. And to the point that even white women recognized that sisters were superior. You know what I'm saying? Just, it was what it was in this area. And at some point, that began to change where, and brother, you got ripped off says, I feel like black women that start wearing cosmetics until the Avon boom of the late 80s and early 90s. I don't even remember wearing, I remember the Avon boom, but I don't remember sisters even wearing, even with Avon. I remember people selling it. And I remember women having parties, and I remember my mother going to that wasn't Avon. That was Tupperware. Never mind. But I remember the Avon becoming a thing. I'll say that. But I still don't remember the boom of women wearing makeup specifically until probably the mid 2000s, where just all of a sudden sisters everywhere was wearing makeup. Sister Simba says the 80s we didn't wear makeup, nor did we shave under our armpits, and some other stuff I can't say, and brothers were still checking for sisters. Yeah, man, nobody cared about that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Nobody cared about all that stuff. Brothers was not, it's all that was different. But in my mind, to what I remember, when the reality show thing started to kick off, and I remember this being kind of the mid 2000s, when I kind of started to see a little bit of sisters wearing makeup and stuff, and I didn't know what was going on, right? Because I wasn't looking at the reality shows. And then I remember I started seeing young, like teenagers, wearing makeup, and I was like, "Oh, what is going on?" Right? Because that was never a thing. And you know, the young girls, they started dressing provocative and everything, and I'm like, "Oh, hold up, what is going on?" And I didn't realize at the time, I didn't understand, and this is like right before Nicki Minaj blew up. I didn't understand that they were looking at these reality shows, these Real Housewives and all that stuff, and that this is what they were looking at. They were modeling themselves after this. I didn't know. And then what really kind of turned the corner on the whole look of modern black women was when people like Nicki Minaj came out and became famous, and the popularity of what I call the tranny look became a thing, where actually looking natural, was not popular. Looking unnatural was. And so you had these women with all this makeup on and these unusually sized assets, if you will, and women actually looking like a caricature of themselves. And I remember, it's so funny because I remember when Nicki Minaj came out and got big, and I remember talking to this brother I was working with, because I think I had just got a new job or whatever, so I didn't really know, dude. We didn't talk and getting to know each other. He was like, "Man, you seen Nicki Minaj?" And I had just saw her. I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Man, her body, blah 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 blah." And I didn't know anything about her, but I just remember being like, "Man, she alright." I didn't know what it was, but what I realized is she wasn't appealing because she didn't look real. But to him, he didn't care. He just saw that she appeared to be well endowed, and thus that was appealing, right? And I understand that as a man. I mean, let's be realistic. As men, those who of us who are men here, if a woman walks past you and she appears to be well endowed in certain areas, we all gonna look, and then we may discuss whether it's real or not. We'll debate that after she finished walking by. But we all gonna look first. That's just natural. That's how it is, right? So started to see, like I said, the popularity of Nicki Minaj, and then the other rappers, female rappers, Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, all of them, and that became the influence on the younger women. And it was so deep to me because I was like, I said, what's crazy is that I don't know. Well, I'm sure it's intentional because the hats control the music industry. But what's happening is that while this was going on, right, then we have the rise of the transgenders at the same time, right? You start hearing about different celebrity dudes who ain't being with transgenders or being caught with one and all that type of stuff. And I said, sisters don't even realize they've fallen into a trap, right? Here was the trap. A natural woman, right? A transsexual cannot compete with a natural woman on an even playing field. What am I saying? I'm saying that a man, a straight man, is visually turned off by the cues that a woman is masculine by his very nature, right, of being a straight man. But if you change the idea of femininity from looking like a woman naturally to looking like the caricature of a woman, and that becomes femininity, then suddenly what is appealing to the man is the caricature of the woman. And then once you make the caricature of the woman appealing, then now the transgender can compete with the woman on an uneven playing field, but it's even for them because being a caricature of a woman is what they do. You see what I'm saying? And then you affect the younger generation because, again, as I always say, this stuff isn't for my generation. We're not the target audience. The object is to get the younger brothers confused about their masculinity by confusing them about what real femininity is. And so the object is to muddle and confuse and to break down the identity of people. So if you're attracted to a woman that doesn't look like a woman, right, then you cause the women to try to look like that. And then if you're attracted to a woman that doesn't look black, right, then you cause the women to try to look like that, right? Unique One Express says nowadays in the mainstream culture, it seems as if our sisters are ignored and the non-black exotic looking women are favored by many young boys and men. Right, because that's what they've been programmed to. That's what's been exalted in their eyes. And this is not new. This is a process that's been going on. And I think I talked about this in another show. This is a process that's been going on since, now I say at least because it's been going on longer than that, but at least since when Mariah Carey and Halle Berry and all them were young. Now these women 50 years old now. So that just shows you how long that has been going on. But it's a process that you just keep slowly altering the idea of beauty and femininity in the minds of men. And before you know it, you're not attracted to natural beauty nor black femininity. And black femininity, right, is different from white femininity because, one, of course, black people are naturally different from Europeans, culturally, and biologically, right? So what is femininity for a European female and what's femininity for a black woman, while interrelated, are different, right? But this was so deep. It's so deep. I swear it's so deep. What's deep about it is, if in the mind of the black male, right, you get him to equate femininity with someone that's not his woman by getting his woman to look like the transgender, then suddenly he will look to the white female as the femininity and not even realize what's happening in his mind, right? So this is, and Dr. John Henry Clark talked about this. He didn't talk about it as far as the women, but he talked about it. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, so don't quote me, I'm paraphrasing. But he said to the effect that they made fun of your clothes and made you change your clothes. And they made fun of your gods and made you change your gods. And they made fun of your language and made you change your language, right? And they was using those as examples, right? Talking about black people worldwide. Well, the same thing is taking place now, because who are they making fun of? They made mockery, like I said, they made mockery of Serena, who we made an icon, and made her change her appearance, right? And got us through hip hop to make mockery and talk bad about our women, right? Made us change our women because our women heard it and then wanted to change what they were and then come and take our women. So they make fun of Serena, right? We're worshiping Serena, basically. They make fun of her and makes her change, and then she goes with the European, and the black men are the ones who get blamed for it. But it's a science that they've been doing since before, when they came on the continent. And the latest part of the process is taking our women as black men. And so what's deep is you have brothers on here complaining about, and when I say on here, on YouTube, complaining about black women seemingly 24/7. Like you could just load that up on YouTube, go to sleep, and the videos would just play continuously, right? And not realizing that all that does is we're making mockery of our women, and then they come and take our women because our women hear it and think that we don't want our women anymore, right? And before you know it, you left holding the bag, because then you either got to get with non-black women, which destroys your race from the inside out. Because if the men are with non-black women and the women are with non-black men, there are no more black people. Or before you know it, you're practicing what I call psychological homosexuality or misogyny, and you push away your women, and before you know it, you're hanging out with a bunch of dudes, and who knows what goes on. So that self-hatred, that self-hatred, brother and sisters, is deep, and it makes, it's mind altering, right? And changes the very nature of a person and the way they see the world, and makes you react in a way. And this was so deep about it. It changes the way we interact with each other, and it feeds more self-hatred, because then when you already hate yourself, you hate the person that looks like you, and then, like Malcolm X said in the clip, you don't even want to be around each other. And then the person acts in a way, we are acting a way towards each other that we hate Europeans acting, and instead of us hating the European, we hate ourselves, right? I'm just telling you that self-hatred is a problem. And we don't talk about it as much, but for example, here in DC, it is a perfect example here in DC. Any given night, you can turn on the TV, the news, or go on the news websites or whatever, and see black people shooting black people. Now, the thing about it is deep is that when I was growing up, the city was 85% black. So if black people shooting black people in the city that's 85% black, okay, that makes sense because the city is 85% black. Now the city's 45% black, but black people are still shooting black people. That's the self-hatred. Literally, right? There are at least an equal number of white people, but there are more non-black people in the city than there are black people. And yet, when there's conflict, and the conflict is taken to the degree of willing to risk your life or you're willing to go to jail, or willing to get shot at. Because just because you shooting don't mean that the bullets aren't coming back, right? When it comes to that type of aggression, it's only shown by mostly black men towards each other. Or also, let's be realistic, towards our women. Like, how many times, especially lately, and maybe it's because the people I follow have been highlighting it, across the country I'm seeing more and more crimes where brothers is killing not just their ex-girlfriend or baby mama, like killing the whole family. That used to be white people stuff. White man get mad, kill his whole family, bury him in the backyard. Now I'm seeing it from brothers, but they're not even burying the person in the backyard. They just shooting up everybody and then just sitting there having a drink, wait for the police to come. Right? That wasn't part of our mentality as black men. That type of aggression in the recent years has been against each other as men, which doesn't make it good because it's not good. But now you see it bleeding on to our women and even to the children. And that is a manifestation of self-hatred that we don't want to talk about. And also a manifestation of cowardice. And here's what's deep. I've always said this. Oppression breeds hatred because hatred is a natural tool that can be used to overcome oppression. So, right? So a group of people who are oppressing another people know that hatred will be bred and the hatred will cause resistance. So what must you do then to stop this natural process? Because this is a natural process I'm talking about. You have to redirect the hatred, right, from you and deflect it towards someone else. And you come on these YouTube platforms, you listen to them like I listen to, because what's weird as a content creator, I don't like they listen to people who talk about what I talk about. But I will listen to people who don't talk about what I'm talking about to see what, you know what I'm saying, what the, in essence, regular black people are talking about, right? And you can come on here all day, on here especially, and on Twitter, which is a cesspool of self-hatred, and just hear gender war and see gender war, black men against black women all day long, 24/7, 365. Why is that important? Because if that energy is redirected, because remember, we're in a point in time where seemingly every day, right, some black man, black woman, and now black child is being gunned down in the streets by the pigs, who are now at this point mostly white nationalists in uniform. And while that's going on the internet, black men and black women are arguing about, you name it, whatever it is, every single day. And no amount of hatred is being directed at any European, not the European male, not the European female, not the small hats, especially not the small hats. Our people don't even know the hat thing had just gone all over their head. They have no idea about any of that, right? In a point where we're facing genocide from multiple attacks in all areas of people activity, right? Not just the physical assault by the police, the psychological warfare that we talked about, the chemical and biological warfare of the COVID and the vaccine. All of these attacks are taking place, and black people are shooting each other, arguing with each other, fighting with each other, betraying each other, and no attacks are going towards our enemy. in any way, shape, or form. And brother, you got ripped off said what you just said is the reason why SBPM stands at the pinnacle of correctness in the new trendy consciousness movement. Thank you, brother. And so, me personally, right, I have, after years of study, I said, you know what? It's not only is correct, right, to teach black people to hate their enemies because the hatred is natural. It's a natural outgrowth of oppression. And it's better to teach the hatred of the enemy than allow the hatred to fester amongst black people and destroy us from the inside out. Right? So I have no problem. Somebody say, oh, are you teaching hate? Yes, I am. That is correct. And shall continue to do so moving forward until I no longer exist. And then I will leave these recordings to Brother You Got Ripped Off and some other people I trust for them to play it for other people when I'm not here. The same way my generation started loading up Amos Wilson and all those people. Because it's necessary as a part of the revolutionary process to not internalize the oppression, but to project the oppression out in the direction to repel the attacks of the oppressor. You see what I'm saying? That's the natural part of getting free. And as long as we accept the hatred and project it on ourselves, our enemies they don't have to worry about anything. And they figured that out years ago. They figured it out when my generation was young and we were shooting each other. And the best example of this is in LA in the 80s and 90s, where all the different black gangs hated the police, but they hated themselves more and shot at each other more than they ever shot at the cops. Because you had a city with like literally hundreds of thousands of gang members and a police force that had nowhere near, and the type of arms they had and the money they had. It's hard to think about it now because it's not that way. But the type of arms that they had at that time, at a point where the police weren't, when brothers on the West Coast started coming out with these AKs and MAC 10s and all this stuff, the police didn't have those type of arms. Like literally, they could have taken, the black gangs could have taken over Los Angeles. But the psychology, the mental side, the self-hate would never allow them to get past seeing their brother with a different color. What's deep is his skin is the same color, but carrying his rag is a different color. He represents something different. Blast on him immediately. But the pig is wearing a different color and his skin is a different color, but you don't blast on him. But he blasts on you and locks you up and puts you away. But you can't, you see what I'm saying? That Willie Lynch chip, as someone had said, keeps us from addressing the gigantic pink gorilla and white gorilla that's smacking up everybody and taking control of our communities, right? So, I did have one more clip to go that I wanted to show, just dealing again with this self-hate and this bleaching and this and the worldwide effect of it. So I want to show this last clip and then come back and go further into the discussion.
One of the fashion is bleaching skin.
Okay.
What do
right now in Jamaica, if you're not bleaching, you're not saying nothing, because bleaching turn up the thing. So when you bleach, America look more nicer, look more sexier and look more cuter than you was.
Do you bleach?
Yeah.
Yeah? When did you start?
I'm start about 2 years about now. Some people say they want to look like Beyonce or what you call that, Nicki Minaj. I want to look like Nicki Minaj.
Do you ever think about it and just wish that it was different and that the trend was to be black?
The only difference I wish you had in it was if it could happen faster without damaging your skin.
Show me what you do.
This is Bio Cream. Now this is Jamaica's baby in bleaching. Therapy form. And this is for your hair. But girls have found out that this volume 40 is like one of the big things that just brings up the cream. Gives you that, first it gives you that reddish look and then it just takes it off beautiful. But after a while you have to just cool off and come back again because your skin will get way too thin. You get a cut, it will never heal. After a while, this area will burst. And when it bursts, the vein is more obvious.
What do you think would happen if I used it?
If you... No, I don't think you will have skin left. Some of the girls that do this think that, hey, if I do this long enough, I'll become white. But you never actually get white. After you get brown, you get pink. So you do it once in the morning and once in the night before you go to bed. There's some people now that do it 3 times a day. This is the way I do it, right?
Okay.
First thing you get is the warmth of it.
Shall I try?
It won't hurt you.
It's definitely a little bit warm.
Yeah. So we're gonna take the Glad wrap and we're gonna wrap it on my skin. The heat is unbearable, right?
Yeah. So you would go out with this under your clothes?
Yeah.
All
You
day?
would go out, yeah. Some girls get stockings and pull it up over it. They would get tights and pull it up over it. And probably get jeans. So it would be the heat of the century, like a global warming type of thing happening, yeah.
But if you have a boyfriend already, doesn't it interfere with your sex life?
He doesn't get any.
What's more important, sex or bleaching?
Sex or bleaching? Yes, some guys that if you're not brown, they don't want you. So there's a lot of guys that will lie down and watch you rub on the cream, help you rub on the cream, and lie down beside you and say, baby, I don't want to mess up that cream tonight.
So, if brothers ever doubt the effect that we have on our women, that sister said that there's some males who don't want the sister to mess up that cream, as she said, and want them to continue to destroy themselves, right? So I guess so he can get with a I'm gonna be honest, I don't know, bro. I don't understand. But I mean, it just goes to show that we are affecting our women. So we can sit here and say, straight black pride sister, Misty, we can sit here and say, oh man, our sisters are doing this and that, man, our sisters are sick, the sisters are blah 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 blah. But that sister said it right there. She has a boyfriend. They are willing to stop interacting, as men and women do, in order for her to put on this stuff. And to me, that was a nice looking sister. And she's trying to, she has this process down to a science of you can't go too far because then you turn pink and all. She got this whole thing scienced up. And her boyfriend, instead of looking at her and being like, hey, what are you doing? You don't need that stuff. Hey, I like you the way you are. I got with you because of the way you look. and things like that. He's moving out the way in order for her to wrap herself up like some type of, I don't know. Saran wrap herself up like leftover chicken and put this stuff on, and she talking about it burn and heat and all this. And this is total insanity from him and her. And again, like I said, the part that's deep, and the reason I showed that clip was because now they're in Jamaica. Who did she say they want to look like? They want to look like Beyonce and Nicki Minaj. She didn't say any Jamaican artist. She said Beyonce and Nicki Minaj. Now that clip is about, I believe, 3 years old. But we get the point. The point that I was making about how black people in America, especially the ones they put on TV, affect how black people think and feel around the world. And that this is projecting the black self-hatred globally. So we see the skin bleaching in South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Jamaica, you name it. And I mean, we cannot move forward and progress in any way, shape, or form, right? As long as this psychological damage is taking place. I mean, I want us to look at these two pictures. I had to look and make sure when I looked at this picture, this was the same person. And of course, those of y'all that saw the lecture, the transformation of Little Kim is, as horrible as this looks, the transformation of Little Kim is way beyond this. And this is the current version of that, which took place. Little Kim started transforming herself, I guess 20 years ago, I guess. But I want us to look at the effects, the physical manifestation of black self-hatred, of white supremacy placed in the mind of black people. Now, I should have found me a Sammy Sosa picture, because I mean he might, well, nah, nobody's worse than Lil' Kim, but I don't know of any male worse than Sammy Sosa like that. I remember it was the same thing. I saw that picture. I was like, who is this dude? I had no clue. And the saddest thing about the Serena thing is it makes me think, what is the cost of quote unquote success for black people in the white world? I mean, if you have to, it's like it's like the Bible. What they say, what profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul, that type of thing. And you won't hear me quote the Bible very often. But it's the same concept. If the cost of success is the complete destruction of your identity, then how successful are you? If the cost of success is wanting to look white and be white and destroy your genetics and be with a European or some other non-black person, if the cost of success is to alter your sexuality, right? To put on a dress like Kid Cudi, we talked about in a previous show, to put on a whole outfit like Lil Nas X, These are the images of success being projected into the minds of our sons and our daughters. And the concepts of success, right? Of racial uplift, the concepts of success of building a black family structure, right? The concepts of success of a black man getting a black woman who's identifiably black and building a family and taking care of that family and having those children grow up to love themselves, right? And for those children to choose black mates and produce more black people, right? The concept of success of building a legacy and having something to pass on to black children who are black and black grandchildren who are black, right? The concept of success of being the one to alter the mentality of the people who follow your bloodline so that the people behind you have African names and and I'm gonna quote Tupac, an African brain. Those concepts of success are foreign to the vast majority of our people and have been replaced by the concept of success that leads to the destruction of black people as a collective. And what's deep is we'll look at the individual person, destroy themselves, but still look at that as the model of success. And we won't warn our children the dangers of that idea of success. And Brother Crow says many of our black entertainers suffer from self-hate. Oh, without question. And in fact, a brother pointed this out to me years ago. I believe it was Brother Kush. He said that the the hats seek out black people who have been damaged and place them on a pedestal in front of us, right? Now, you look at the music industry, no one has to debate this. Like you look at those people and it's just like, it's obvious that there's something wrong with the majority of, especially the young new rappers. It's obvious that there's something wrong there. And they're making songs and they're expressing their pain. These are people who are damaged. I mean, if you listen real close to the lyrics, hey, if you're in your right mind, you're like, something's wrong with this dude. Not in a derogatory way, but the environment that the young person has come from, because a lot of times these people 17, 18, 19 years old, has damaged them. And now they're put in front of our children, and the children resonate with the damage, and then they follow behind the person, and then, like I talked about before, these rappers are living out the damage. And so instead of just saying or having rap beef lyrically, these people running up and shooting each other all over the place. And so they set, and again, this is multi-generational now, but again, sets the example of because this rapper so-and-so did it, this is how you go out, as we say. This is how we solve conflict. If I see so-and-so, because such and such and such rapper shot so-and-so, and so-and-so and them fought, and then they shot up this and that, this is how I'm going out. I'm going to go out like, you fill in the blanks, because I don't know all these people. I don't know. But I'll just say this, man. It is it's very dangerous and damaging. And it's very difficult to organize a group of people who hate themselves because they're always looking for a reason to hate people that look like themselves. And it doesn't take much to break black people apart. Even if you can't have black people that agree on the same principles, but because of a small grudge or a small mistake or what somebody receives as a personal, they feel like something personal against them happened, right? Will just hate the people that they were cool with. Even if those same people agree on certain principles, but they'll be enemies. But we won't hold that grudge against our 5,000-year-old enemy. And in fact, we'll defend the enemy. People will defend the enemy to people like me and tell me and some of us it's not, what have we all heard before? It's not all white people. We'll say, it's not all white people. Well, I ain't got nothing against Asian. I ain't got nothing against Arabs. I ain't got nothing against, you fill in the blank. But you got something against black people. When a black person or in another part of town does something right, people in the hood will say, man, F all them dudes that live over on, you know what I'm saying, whatever part of town, all them dudes over in Southeast. Man, forget all them dudes, them Brooklyn cats. You know, forget all them dudes on such and such a street. We heard it before. And now you hear dudes basically talking about black women like that. Man, all these black women X, Y, Z. Man, I don't date our sisters no more because of blah, 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 blah. And then you hear the women saying it. Oh, none of these black men ain't about nothing. None of these black men ain't doing nothing. Black men this and this and that. Yada, yada, blah, 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 so forth and so on. And we hold them grudges for the rest of our life. One sister gets called something because she dark skinned by some dude in 6th grade, and she hold that against black men till she's 50 years old. One brother gets turned down by one sister in 8th grade, and he don't date black women no more. He ain't even started dating black women. And we hold that grudge. But this European, Arab, Chinese, you name it, small hat, have done just innumerable damage to black people worldwide. And we can't hold no grudge against them. Right? You see the difference. By the way, if you have not smashed the like button, if you haven't rang the doorbell as you walked in, smash the like button now. And of course, I always forget to do this, but I'm supposed to do this every time. You can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical, the numeral 1. On Twitter at dc_radical_ONE. And of course, you can email me, because some of you have, at, oh, I forgot, this is YouTube for those that may not be paying attention or listening to On the Wake Up Radio, capital D, small c, radical, the number 1, and email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. And last but not least, if you would like to donate, you can donate via the Cash App at $DC Radical, the number 1, all one word. And I greatly appreciate all donations, because those things go to, basically they pretty much go to the channel. Go to new mics, new desks for the mic, and some things that I use as far as like production and videos and things like that. So I greatly appreciate that, because you, the people, y'all pay for that. And basically what I want to do is make a better product that more people more of our people will be attracted to, and build this movement online as far as we can until the point that the European gets tired of us and that hat pulls the plug. The good part is we have our wonderful producer here who has her OTW tube, and when the hats pull the plug, we'll just be over there, right? But I really wanted to delve into this self-hatred because it is a problem, and the picture just sparked it, but I had been thinking about it before because of the city I live in and the fact that there's still the number of shootings and things were going up, but the shootings weren't affecting anybody but us. So the number of black people are going down, the number of shootings of black people shooting each other is going up. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. But again, who taught us to hate ourselves? As black men, I mean, we're not taking out any aggression on any of our enemies anywhere in the world. I mean, y'all stop me if I'm lying. Does anyone know of any group of black men who are openly attacking enemies of black people anywhere on the planet? Enlighten me or educate me if I'm wrong. If there's some people, if there's some brothers in, you pick a country on a continent, you know what I'm saying, that's rolling on Arabs or rolling on Chinese or rolling on Europeans, let me know. If there's some brothers in the Caribbean that are, and I'm talking about now, and I'm not talking about 20 years ago, I'm talking about right now, this year, this minute, let me know. Because without question, our enemies are attacking us right now. In Brazil, they killed a bunch of people in Brazil, right? And I don't know if anybody heard about it. They basically said it was the police did a military assault. Now, I should have brought up that clip, but I didn't. I wasn't thinking of it when I talked about this discussion. And yet, no response from the global black male community. Again, this ain't a sister's problem. Sisters got their own problems. They had a whole lecture on their problems. This is a black man problem. No response from us as men. Now, if we just being honest here, right? And Brother Lance says in West Papua, I believe that's how it's said, New Guinea, brothers and sisters are fighting gallantly against the Indonesian government. All right, brother, there you go. One group of people, black people, on earth, physically fighting. That's better than the zero that I thought about, because I had forgot about the whole West Papua thing. I mean, one is better than none. But I mean, let's think about it. There are at least 1.2 billion black people on earth. Let's estimate that there are 400 to 500 million black men. If 10% of those black men organized, enrolled on all non-African people, just on the continent, forget going around the world, if they just rolled on all non-African people on the continent, it's like, you have to leave. It would change the world perspective on the black man. As of right now, if we're being honest, now, quote Brother Jenny, the world looks at black man as a bunch of suckers. Now, physically, we know good and well we can roll out some brothers. We can pick some brothers from America, the Caribbean, and the continent, and roll out some brothers. They'll put the fear of God in any group of men just by showing up, right? We know that for a fact. We can roll out brothers 6'6", 7, 8, 7 feet tall, muscle bound, no fat. It can lift up a car, right? But we can't find a large percentage of such men who have the self-love and black self-respect to use all that physical strength and prowess and fighting ability and skill to defend the black world against our enemies because of black self-hatred. You see what I'm saying? And as long as that is the case, our enemies know that we're not a threat and they can continue to do whatever they want, including now killing our women and our children. And we're participating because now we're killing our women and our children. I see reports of brothers, I just never thought I would see brothers killing women and children. But that's where we are. That the menticide has progressed to that point. And so I'm gonna be honest. It's we got work to do. And I'm not sure how you reverse this process, because I can't remember who said it was. Somebody said it's almost as if the Black Power movement or the Black is Beautiful movement or both is almost as if they never happened. And I don't know who, somebody said that in the chat. I don't remember who it was, but yeah, it that's what it feels like. It feels like none of that ever took place. But some type of way, we have to make being black cool again. We have to make, and not this new woke, pseudo pro-black, this pro-black, as long as you cool with white people, pro-black mixed with the rainbow mafia. Not that thing that's happening. Not that gay lesbian movement thing, but organic self-love, love of black people, racial esteem, to steal somebody else's line or terminology, because I like that. The raising of our racial esteem. We have to make that a thing again. You know what I'm saying? Make black people great again. Make being black great again. And Brother Lance says, most of us here in the U.S. act as though we are comfortable. A lot of black people have bought into the notion that the concept of black unity is racist. Yeah. That's always been a crazy concept to me, but I think you're right. Just because it's crazy to me doesn't mean that other people don't think it. And Brother You Got Ripped Off says, please explain how to get the online lecture tickets before you end, please. It's funny you said that. I talked to Brother Genie this morning, trying to get some clarification on that. What is taking place is, I believe he's in the email that he sent out, and he will send out another email And in that email will be the process for getting the online tickets, because the website in essence right now is still being tested. And when the final test of the website is done, he'll be able to generate the link, and then the link will lead you to his website where you'll be able to purchase access to the video probably on Friday. So I will start checking on Thursday for that, and I'm sure he will send out the email. But if I don't see the email by Friday morning, then I'll contact him and be like, hey, send out the email, because people are waiting. Because I don't, it's weird the way it's done, but it's being done because it's on his own platform. And so when it's on your own platform, you have to make sure that you actually have a pay window set up and that you can accept the transactions from the people, and also make sure that when you accept the transactions that people actually have access to the content. So it's just one of those things of getting all that stuff correct. And that's why it seems so convoluted and complicated right now, because you're doing something for the first time. And brother, you're doing something for the first time. You just got to make sure it's right, because you never know. And Unique One Express says, many of us who are like-minded and true liberation and unity. I feel like I missed part of that. So elaborate on that, Unique One Express, because I feel like I got the second half of a thought with that. And okay, brothers talking to other people talking to each other in the comment section. So brother, you got ripped off. I hope I have explained that. And like I said, the process of just doing something new makes it more difficult. But I might as well announce it again. This and brother, you got ripped off. Said it sounded like you set up point of sale so you can interact with the website. That's probably the case. That's probably the case. And those things, depending on how skilled your web designer is, those things can be easy or difficult, But it is important, because you're trying to, you want to make sure that people have access to the product, and also that when people pay you, that you are the one that gets paid. But again, since we're on that topic, May 15th, Brother Irritated Genie returns. Gateway to the Apocalypse. Doors open at Everlasting Life at 6 p.m. this Saturday. The live stream is scheduled to begin at 6:30 p.m. And this will be a online presentation, and then there will be a discussion afterwards. And I am not sure, but hopefully that the people who are watching online will be able to send in questions. I forgot to ask Brother Genie that, to be honest. But hopefully that will be the case. So if you are on the email list, look out for the email coming up either Thursday or Friday with instructions on how to purchase tickets. If you're not in the DMV area, if you're in the DMV area, go to Eventbrite, look up, Gateway to the Apocalypse, and you can buy your tickets via Eventbrite. I believe that, again, they're $25 on Eventbrite. They're $35 at the door. So you want to get your tickets beforehand. I did not check to see how ticket sales are going, but I would suspect that there'll be a lot of people there. So if you haven't gotten your ticket, you're in the DMV area, you may want to get your tickets now, because I think the last time Brother Genie did something after a long break, we had to turn people away the last time. Back, that was nearly a year ago when things started to open up just a little bit. And Brother John says, liberation and unity is hard work in capital letters. Like trying to get in shape. Absolutely. And we're trying to get our people in mental shape to free themselves from the psychological, economic, social, spiritual, and physical bonds that we are in as we're being subjugated and dominated. Let's just call it what it is, by the other people on the planet. You see my Africans versus everybody lecture, I have a section for just about every group of people you can think of except for Eskimos. There's no Eskimo section in that lecture because I don't think we have any smoke with Eskimos. But other than that, everybody else I can think of, we have had a problem or are currently having a problem with, including our own black selves as we try to retrieve our black mind from the clutches of our non-black enemies. So with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for your support. I thank you all for coming through and listening. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you tell other people about this podcast and about the channel. Again, you can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical, the numeral 1. On Twitter at dc_radical_ONE. The Cash App, if you want to donate, $ DC Radical 1. The YouTube, capital D, small c, Radical 1. And the email is dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. And Brother Patrick said we got smoke for Eskimos too if they want it. Hey, it is for everybody. So with that, brothers and sisters, appreciate all you do. And brother, you got ripped off, sis. That's why we must support those that are putting in the work, and y'all can support this brother and the platform by donating the Cash App $ DC Radical 1 and $ on the Wake Up Radio. Thank you, my brother. You got ripped off. You always got my back. With that, I say a BB for Hodie and straight black pride.